Thanks for joining us in KARE 11 News Now on this Friday. I am Chris Harabsky. Here are your headlines. A 7.7 magnitude earthquake centered in Myanmar reverberated across Southeast Asia this morning, leaving scores of people trapped under collapsed buildings, including a high-rise in Thailand's capital, Bangkok. NBC's Janice Mackey-Frayer reporting from Beijing.
This was a very strong and shallow earthquake, measuring magnitude 7.7, according to the USGS. The epicenter about 10 miles from Mandalay. It's a city of 1.2 million people and causing havoc across Southeast Asia. The tremors felt far and wide across the region. In Bangkok, Thailand, which rarely gets earthquakes, the shaking caused a building to collapse at a construction site. Dozens of workers are trapped in the rubble there. Only a handful have been rescued so far. Elsewhere in the city, buildings swayed. People rushed to get out to the street. A rooftop swimming pool became a waterfall. There have been several strong aftershocks too. Thailand's prime minister has declared a state of emergency. In Myanmar, social media posts show a bridge across the Irrawaddy River has completely collapsed, and there are reports that mass casualty centers are being set up at hospitals. The full extent of the quake's impact in Myanmar is still not entirely clear. The country is still grappling with an ongoing civil war, but news websites are reporting extensive damage to roads, highways, bridges, airports. Little is being said so far about the human toll, but the government is calling on people to donate blood. Janice Mackey-Frayer, NBC News, Beijing.
Right now, Vice President J.D. Vance is in Greenland for a trip that morphed from a cultural trip by Second Lady Usha Vance to a security check at a key U.S. military base there. NBC's Molly Hunter reports from Greenland.
Good morning from the freezing cold capital of Nuuk, actually well below freezing, I should say, but where the Vice President J.D. Vance, the Second Lady, Mike Waltz, the National Security Advisor, and the Energy Secretary, Chris Wright, that high-level U.S. delegation, where they're heading is even colder. They're heading to the northwest, the remote northwest of Greenland, to a U.S. military base to meet with about 150 U.S. military personnel. And this trip, as we've been talking about this week, is a much scaled-back version of what it was originally going to be. And talking to Greenlanders yesterday and today, since we've been here on the ground, this is a trip they can live with. This is an appropriate trip, people tell us, that they can live with. They're going to go meet with U.S. military personnel. That is a base that has been there for 75 years. It's really America's kind of Arctic listening post, the first line of defense for ballistic missiles coming from Russia or China across the Arctic. And so people here have no problem with the American vice president going up there. What they had a problem with is the Second Lady coming here for some kind of cultural trip, uninvited and unwelcome. Now, we spoke with a lot of people who say they respect America. They want to collaborate and work with America. And one of the members of parliament, actually, that we spoke with talks about how they want to learn how to dance with America, to really kind of do some kind of business that benefits the people here and is not just dictated by America. Molly Hunter, NBC News, Nuuk, Greenland.
Crews are working around the clock to get an upper hand on raging wildfires in North and South Carolina, which show no signs of slowing right now. Officials urging people who live between two major fires to evacuate immediately. NBC's Marissa Parra has the latest from Pickens, South Carolina.
Well, what you're seeing behind me, these trucks loaded with equipment, it's going to go straight to the fire line. Of course, you can see all of these crews, a lot of them already out at the fire line. This is because in South Carolina, we have seen 0% containment as those fires continue to grow. Now, you might have seen some heavy equipment, some bulldozers in the background. A lot of that is in large part to clear out the debris left over from Hurricane Helene. We have confirmation that that has been hindering efforts because, of course, not only does it provide fuel for the flames, but it is also making it that much harder for firefighters to get to where they need to go. So in South Carolina, there's, of course, the Table Rock Complex fires. But then in North Carolina, of course, we're seeing the Black Cove Complex fire, now the nation's highest priority fire, with nearly 500 people assigned to fight it. We've seen new evacuations, of course, aggressive measures all over. Back here in South Carolina, we're hearing the first time in South Carolina history that an air tanker was used to drop fire retardant on nearby homes to protect them. So as we're looking ahead to the weather forecast, we are expecting some stronger winds again today. So they're going to continue to use those aggressive measures to try to protect the structures. So far, no structures affected here in South Carolina. Of course, we'll keep a close eye on it throughout the North and South Carolinas here on the ground.
President Trump pressing forward with his America First agenda despite growing calls for accountability over the Signal group chat that included top national security officials, attack plans, and inadvertently a journalist. On Capitol Hill, lawmakers calling for an independent investigation while also weighing in on the president's latest plan to slash thousands of jobs from the Department of Health and Human Services. NBC's Alice Barr has the latest from Washington.
The Department of Health and Human Services, the new target of the Trump administration's government cuts, center stage again, with the announcement HHS is set to slash 10,000 workers, including a planned 3,500 at the FDA and 2,400 at the CDC.
We're keenly focused on paring away excess administrators while increasing the number of scientists and frontline health providers.
The new cuts on top of 10,000 jobs gone through the Department of Government Efficiency. In all, the agency appears set to lose a quarter of its staff. Democrats worry American healthcare and research will suffer.
How they're going to backfill, how they're going to make sure we're not losing critical muscle.
Elon Musk appearing on Fox News with several DOGE staffers pushing back on criticism his team has moved too fast, occasionally forced to rehire fired workers, including at the FDA.
We want to measure twice, if not thrice, and cut once. When we do make mistakes, we correct them quickly, and we move on.
As the White House acknowledged mistakes in that Signal group chat when a reporter was accidentally added alongside top Trump officials discussing sensitive plans for imminent U.S. airstrikes in Yemen.
A national security advisor took responsibility for that, and we have said we are making changes.
NBC News has learned President Trump is privately angry with National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, who started the chat. That's according to two Republican sources with inside knowledge. A federal judge now ordering the officials in the chat to preserve the messages amid an ongoing lawsuit.
Back at home this afternoon, we have new details about a tragic incident up in St. Francis that happened this morning. A 21-year-old man who was riding his bike through an intersection on Highway 47 is dead after a school bus hit him. Authorities say it happened just before 7:30 this morning. We do know the driver was the only person on the bus at that time. Bloomington police are looking for a person they say damaged a Tesla. Happened in the Cub Foods parking lot on France Avenue Wednesday night. Police say the damage totaled $3,200. This incident comes during a growing trend of damage and vandalism to Teslas, their dealerships, and charging stations nationwide, in response to Elon Musk and his work at the White House. You've been getting an E-ZPass scam on your phone? I have. They've been causing people a lot of confusion and concern lately. Now, a Minnesota lawmaker says the Twin Cities' 4 E-ZPass lanes themselves are their own kind of headache. He told our Ian Russell why he wants the state to ditch the company completely.
Millions of motorists travel thousands of miles daily on Minnesota roads, from out of state.
We are both from Columbia, Missouri.
To here in the cities.
It's a big city.
Yeah, exactly.
Everyone knows traffic can be a nightmare. It's the whole reason we have these E-ZPass lanes.
I think they're a great idea for alleviating congestion and encouraging people to share rides.
And while Chris Detmer and Tom Frankman are on board with these, not everyone would agree.
As a commuter, I was saying no, this should be changed.
Republican State Representative Elliot Engen won't mince words about this. Much like the scam texts we've all gotten about unpaid tolls recently, he thinks the lanes themselves are a scam too.
I mean, you used some pretty strong words in that post as well. I mean, you called it just straight up a scam.
Yeah, it is. I don't think that the government should double tax people who just want to make that commute, that they have to make to get to their job anyways. Let's free up that traffic for people. That actually makes it safer on the roads, and they can keep more money in their pocket.
In the coming days, Engen plans on introducing this, a bill to ban the collection of tolls on Minnesota highways.
I just don't think that the government necessarily needs to profit off of something that you need to get to work.
Solo drivers pay somewhere between $0.25 and $8 per ride, depending on the number of cars and speeds in the lane. According to MnDOT, money collected on the Easy Pass lanes up to a certain point stays in the corridor where it was collected, going towards operations and maintenance. Engen says it should stay with you.
We shouldn't be imposing just another layer of more and more money that's coming out of their pocket simply to get to work. That doesn't seem right to me.
When you look at that, though, does that seem as if that's top of people's agenda right now, or do you think there are other things that are on their minds?
I think Minnesotans, by and large, feel like they're not getting the ROI that they used to with their tax dollars.
Engen's proposal would see these lanes turned into dynamic shoulder, general purpose, or HOV lanes. There could still be dedicated lanes under his bill, but they wouldn't cost anything to use. It's an idea Engen says he came up with after he thought about his own experience.
The other lanes are bumper to bumper, but there's a lane right there that we could all be using, and maybe it wouldn't be bumper to bumper if we could.
Tom and Chris say as drivers, there's plenty of things to consider first. Engen says he already has, now ready to push to get this done.
I don't see how people are being forced to pay for those roads, and it sounds like the people that do choose to pay for it are helping out the road system.
Do you think this has a chance?
You never know unless you try. That's the thing about politics, is nothing gets done unless you press it.
Engen says he hopes to have bipartisan support on this and believes members of his party will get behind the bill. A House DFL spokesperson told Ian Russell that they have no thoughts on this issue at this time. Stick with us. More news and weather coming up after the break.